People face disasters because politicians are more concerned about preferential votes. A statement by the President. Ministers appointed at electorate level to oversee relief activities in flood-affected areas. Boat capsizes in Malimbada, claiming 3 lives. Navy advisors to refrain from sailing in floodwaters. Southwestern parts of Sri Lanka to experience more rain. Sri Lankan arrested for attempting to enter the cockpit of a Malaysian Airlines plane.
Good evening and welcome. You're with News First, your #1 news provider. I am Shamir Rasuldi.
A very good evening. I'm Mahina Bonzo. Here's a look at the stories in detail now. At a special Galle District Coordinating Committee meeting today, the President held politicians to account for the failures to implement development plans.
At the meeting, President Maithripala had stated that the general public are facing disaster situations such as floods and landslides because politicians are only focused on preferential votes and not development-based activities. The President said the assistance of all politicians will be needed to put the government's comprehensive development plans into action. Speaking further, President Sirisena said even though feasibility studies were conducted to implement development plans for the Ratnapura, Galle and Kalutara districts many years ago, and attempts were made by previous governments to put them into action, these plans were brought to a standstill due to the interference of politicians.
If there are any shortcomings, the public representatives should provide the necessary support to overcome them. The process should be implemented by state officials, which will help minimize issues. The responsibility of the government is to save everyone's lives. So to make these decisions in the future, we will need your help. We will provide lands to those who live in reserves without permission. We will also implement a program to construct houses for them.
President Maithripala Sirisena appointed several ministers from the areas not affected by floods as organizers for the flood relief work in affected electorates.
A meeting of government MPs took place this afternoon at the Presidential Secretariat. The President appointed ministers to monitor and steer relief programs for 23 electorates.
When relief material is provided, infrastructure development is of paramount importance. The President made a deliberation on the matter. It was revealed that many countries have come forward to send aid to Sri Lanka. Ministers were appointed to respective electorates and districts to look into the renovation process. Ministers were appointed to districts so that they can organize the relief process. The President also announced that sufficient funds will be made available for the public, including foreign aid. We should not have any doubt about the government. The previous regime looted the tsunami funding of over 82 million rupees. Minister Mangala Samaravira said the tsunami funds were deposited to an account called Helping Hammantota. Former President Mahinda Rajapaksa has noted earlier that the process is not efficient. He had said that everything is done by the 3 armed forces and not the government. Some may berate the government's actions. Some may say that only the army is doing the work. They do not understand that the army is also the government. The government is committed and the President emphasized that.
A tense situation erupted yesterday when a Galle district UMP parliamentarian arrived at the Baddegama divisional secretariat.
UMP parliamentarian Bandulal Bandaraguda had arrived at the Baddegama divisional secretariat last evening, claiming that a group of displaced persons in the Naguda zone are in need of dry rations. The Baddegama divisional secretary in response had said the dry rations at the divisional secretariat are not sufficient to meet the parliamentarians' needs. This brought about an exchange of words between the MP and the divisional secretary as well as other
පාර්ලිමේන්තු මන්ත්‍රීවරයා අපිත් දන්න හැමදැනටම කතා කරා. ඒ කියන්නේ අපි තුදේරා එළි වෙනකන් නැගිටලා මේ වැඩේ අපි මහජන විදියට දිව්වා. හරි අනිත් එක මේක සම්බන්ධීකරණ කමිටුවේ සමසභාපති මම ආසනයේ සංවිධායක. ඒක නිසා එහෙම මේ පොතුමිය මගේ කොට්ටාශය මේ එහෙම ඒ වචන නම් කියන්න බෑ. ඒකට කියන්නේ ඒක මතක තියාගන්න. මේ වැඩ කරා ඒකට මම අගය කරනවා. ඒකට ගරු කරනවා. අර එමත් කතා කරන්නත් එපා. කොටත් වක්කීමක් තියෙන පාර්ලිමේන්තු මන්ත්‍රීවරු විදියටයි ප්‍රදේශීය මහජනත්වක විශ්ව හැමෝටම ඒක විදියට සලකන්න අපටත් තියෙනවා. සර් සමාව වෙන්න ඕනේ මට ඒක වචන. නෑ ඔයත් එකම කතා කරනවා ලේස්ති නෑ. මම මෙතන කතා කරන්නේ ප්‍රාදේශීය ලේකම්තුමියක්. වෙන කෙනෙක් ඒක අවුරුද්දක් කතා කරන්නේ ලේස්ති. ඒ මට එක එක්කෙනා කියන්න එන්නත් එපා. හරිද? අපි ප්‍රාදේශීය ලේකම්තුමියක්. මේ ඉතල තියෙන මාව සම්බන්ධීකරණ කමිටුවේ සභාපතිය. ඔබතුමිය දෙන්න. ඔබතුමිය මාත් එක්ක වැඩ කරන්න මාත් එක්ක කතා කරන්න. පහළ නිලධාරී කරන්න එපා මේ තෝල්ක පොතලිය හැටියට.
The Sri Lankan Navy has issued a stern warning to individuals who attempt to use small boats and makeshift rafts to travel through flooded areas in search of their loved ones and property. The Navy warns that using small boats and rafts for such purposes is extremely dangerous, especially when floodwaters are receding. 4 people died as a result of such actions today.
3 people died when a canoe toppled in the Palatua area in Malimbada, Mathura. 40-year-old Ranjani Javardhana, her 14-year-old son and 2 other relatives had boarded a canoe to attend the funeral of Ranjani's father. However, their journey was cut short by a strong current. Both the mother and son and another 42-year-old man drowned. The person who paddled the canoe was rushed to hospital.
මියගේ දරුවාගේ අවුරුදු 14 උපන්දිනේ අත්දැකීම් දෙදී තියෙන්නේ ඒ වගේම දරුවාගේ සීයාගේ කියන්නේ මියගේ කාන්තාවගේ පියාගේ අවමගුල අත සිදුවන් තියෙන්නේ මේ සිදුවීමෙන් අස්සේ තමයි මේ අවසන් සිද්ධිය සිදු වුණේ ඒ දරුවාගේ තාත්තත් මියගියේ මේ වගේම වතුරක වැටිලා ඒකත් අකුරුණකා සිදුවීමක් ඒක.
Ranjani's husband died several years ago after he too drowned. 14-year-old Kawinda Sandaruwan was carried away by the currents when he went to bathe in floodwaters somewhere between Kaluthara and Galpatha. The tragedy took place this afternoon. A paddle boat capsized with a group of people in Mathura today. They were rescued by Navy personnel who accompanied a group led by MP Sunil Handunetti in a motorboat, delivering aid to affected people. The Sri Lankan Navy has requested the general public to refrain from travelling through floodwaters in small boats and rafts. It adds that the currents are very strong when the floodwaters recede. Therefore, the Navy requests the public to be very cautious when travelling in vessels that do not use a motor.
Many of the villages that were submerged by the floodwaters across the country have begun to re-emerge, revealing the full scale of the damage left behind.
The waters in the Hiniduma town in Galle receded, leaving the Mallika Navodaya school in ruins. Students and teachers of the school picked up whatever they could salvage.
We cannot recommence school with what has happened.
To everyone, including MPs, please restore our school to a usable state. Children from all faiths learn here. We call on everyone to rebuild the school.
The primary section of the Christchurch Boys' School in Babdegama was also severely affected by the flooding. All that was remaining was the desks and chairs, while the books and other artwork of the students were destroyed in the floods. The floodwaters had also receded in the Babdegama town, leaving properties of the locals in tatters. Today, a Newsfirst team reached the foot of the landslide-hit mountain, which took a part of the Atwalthoda town in Badurelia with it to the Atwalthoda river. Nine people died in the landslide. Just a few kilometers away, the Digana mountain also suffered a deadly landslide caused by the adverse weather. 8 people lost their lives, while 5 houses were destroyed. We are pleading for this road to be made. We want nothing else. Our incomes have come to a standstill. The number of state officials here are quite a few. We are people who sustain ourselves through honey and tea. We are a helpless community.
The anguish of many families affected by the floods still wreak havoc in many parts of the country. One family living in Babdegama is the prime example for this. Their lives have been torn apart by the savagery of the floods.
When the rapidly rising floodwaters began to engulf their home, the family left with nothing but the clothes they were wearing. Now this family of 4 are living in a makeshift shelter near their home, which has been completely demolished, victims of the ferocious force of the weather. In these wretched circumstances, the son, who has a speech and hearing impediment, is taking care of his sister, his 73-year-old father and 69-year-old mother.
Sri Lanka is an island suffering 2 extremes of severe weather conditions. 5 districts were severely battered by torrential rainfall, leading to devastating floods. By contrast, areas such as Jaffna, Mullaitivu, Vavuniya and Puttlam are experiencing extreme dry conditions, resulting in a drought. Well, we now join Newsfirst Chaturanga Hapuaratri for the weather forecast.
The country has seen a dry spell for the past 24 hours, allowing the water levels in certain districts to recede, allowing people to come back to their homes and start the cleaning up operations as well. Now, let's take a look at the next 24 hours in terms of the weather. The Met Department forecasts that heavy showers will be expected over the country, especially in the southwestern region. Showers can be expected in the region in the central, southern, Sabaragamuwa and northwestern provinces. The showers will increase in the Uva, eastern, Sabaragamuwa and the Vavuniya districts as well. Now, taking a look at the wind speeds will reach up to 50 kilometers per hour according to the Met Department's forecast. Taking a look at the wind speeds in the coastal areas, the seas will be rough from Puttlam to Potupil via Colombo, Galle and Hambantota, while the same will continue to the other side of the island as well. Seas reaching up to Trincomalee will be rough with wind speeds reaching up to 60 kilometers per hour. The Met Department advises the fishing community to be vigilant of these strong winds and the currents that could roughen up. We now take a look at the landslide watch for the next 24 hours. The National Building Research Organisation says that if the rainfall continues in the next 24 hours, the landslide warning issued for the Ratnapura, Kegol, Galle, Kalutara, Mathara, Hambantota and Nuwara districts will remain in place.
The recent floods and landslides caused devastating losses to life and property. Why was there no early warning system to prevent such massive losses? Controversy, confusion and plenty of blame surrounds the situation. News First goes in search of answers.
We need to have the latest Doppler radar technology for that purpose. Even with that, we cannot make a prediction a day before the disaster happens. We can predict the time of the rainfall.
50 million rupees was spent to establish a Doppler weather radar system which can scientifically provide early weather forecasts on the Gongala mountain in 2011. The weather radar system had been purchased from Enterprise Electronics Corporation based in the United States of America via the World Meteorological Organization. However, the system has never been in operation. In 2014, a committee comprising of then Deputy Minister Dulip Wijesekara, S. Virithamulla, E. Vijaypala, L.S.V. Karunaratne and U. Wilson carried out an investigation and uncovered the reasons for the system never being made use of. The Doppler weather radar system was purchased at a cost of 50 million rupees. The process of setting up the system atop the Gongala mountain had not been done in a proper manner and a daily logbook had not been maintained. Met officials had informed the investigating committee that when a crane was lifting parts of the system, several pieces had fallen off, damaging the equipment. As there was a delay to put the system into operation, the equipment had corroded and rusted. Though parts have been sent to the US for repairs, they are yet to return. The investigations revealed that there was no discussion with the Sri Lanka Air Force or other authorities to use an alternative method to install the system atop the mountain.
It was not brought to the country when I was the subject minister. Government funds were given to the World Meteorological Organization for the reinstallation of the system. I believe action will be taken in the future. It was not brought during my time. Though I sought cabinet approval for that, it was ordered by my successor. I have no connection to that. You may question the Minister of Disaster Management. The President has granted cabinet approval for this. We need to provide better technology for the Met Department. Parts of the radar was sent for repairs after cabinet approval was granted. However, an unexpected disaster took place. The US also faces similar situations.
ඒක ඇමරිකාවෙත් විඳින්න වෙනවා මේ වගේ තත්යකට. ඒකේ තාක්ෂණික දැනුම නම් මගේ ළඟ නැහැ. මම ඕන හොයලා කියන්න.
At the cabinet meeting that took place 2 weeks ago, funds were allocated to obtain 2 Doppler radar systems from Japan.
What happened to the Doppler radar system and why do ministers dodge questions on the matter? Is this a brand new weather radar system or was it used by someone else before? Who was the local agent for the weather radar system?
We now look at the work being undertaken by the Suhani Asura program. Once again today, the medical teams have brought urgently needed treatment to people living in some of the worst affected areas in Colombo, Biyagama and Malwana.
Locals of Malwana, Nenagampula, Mapitagama, Kanukatiya and Dompe attended the Suhani Asura program in the Nenagampula Rajamahaviharaya. Doctors, nurses and medical officers voluntarily joined hands with the campaign to provide medical services to those affected by the floods and landslides. Doctors highlight that there is a risk of diarrhea, skin diseases and yellow fever spreading.
වෛද්‍යවරුන් හෙදියන් සියලුම ගොඩාක් තුතන් වේදීව ස්තුතිවන්ත වෙනවා එයාලට වෛද්‍යවරුන් අපිට ගොඩාක් උපකාර කරනවා
මේ වෙලාවේ අපි ගොඩාක් අසරණලා ඉන්නේ මේ මල්වාන් ජනතාව ගම් වතුරට යට වෙලා ඒ වෙනුවෙන් අද ස්වේච්ඡාවෙන් පැමිණලා මේ වෛද්‍යවරුන් ගොඩාක් දෙවිවරු වගේ අපිට මේ වල වටිනවා.
The Sirasa, Shakti and TV1 Suvayatra was held at the Gunasekara Vihare in Kadwala this evening to provide medical services to those affected by the inclement weather. More than 100 affected persons are currently taking refuge at the Gunasekara Vihare in Kadwala.
If you wish to make any contribution to the Suvayatra project, you can join the Gammadda initiative. For more details, call 0114 896 896. The number once again, 0114 896 896.
This morning, the Australian government donated 6 dinghy boats for the rescue operations in the country.
The boats were handed over at an event which was graced by Minister of Foreign Affairs Ravi Karunanayake and Australian High Commissioner to Sri Lanka Bryce Hutchison. The Indian Navy ship INS Jalashwa, which arrived in the island with relief supplies and personnel to assist in the flood relief operations, returned to India this afternoon.
Our Navy team had come as the first responders, responding to the SOS sent by Sri Lankan authorities. They worked hand in hand with Sri Lankan Navy. I believe about more than 1,000 patients were treated. More than, I think, 5,000 have been given medicines. Today I'm going to go and meet the disaster management minister, and we have disaster management teams ready in India. In case Sri Lankan government, as I have indicated earlier, require, then those civilian teams will come and assist.
World Vision, which partners with the Sirasa Shakti TV1 Sahanayatra campaign, distributed flood relief in the Galle district today.
The efforts of the campaign were centered around the Nellore area, which was severely affected by the extreme weather conditions experienced over the past week. Aid was distributed among the affected residents of Mavanana, Pahala Gigumaduwa, Ahalapitiya, Pahala Maddegama, Panne Mulla, Maddegama East, Mavita East, Nellore and Happitiya. Many areas in Nellore were cut off from aid over the past week due to the road network being inundated.
The Court of Appeal dismissed the request made by Perpetual Treasuries Limited seeking the cancellation of the Monetary Board directive limiting the transactions carried out by the company and its 2 subsidiaries.
On the 7th of November last year, the Central Bank of Sri Lanka imposed a directive restricting the transactions of Perpetual Treasuries Limited, which faces allegations relating to the Treasury bond scam. Perpetual Treasuries Limited filed a petition seeking the cancellation of that directive. The Attorney General and the lawyers representing the respondents pointed out that the companies in question have not been registered in a proper manner. The President of the Court of Appeal, Rohini Walgama, and the bench accepted the facts presented and issued an order dismissing the petition. Speaking to News First, the Attorney General noted that contradictions in the company names mentioned in the petition and used for registration was the reason to raise objections against the petitions.
Minister Sajith Premadasa provided drinking water to people affected by floods in the Hambantota district and spoke of a people united at a time of adversity.
The aid was donated to the residents of Kurundupakuna South area in Tangol. The victims of this weather did not consider the religion of the people who made these donations. They did not stop to consider whether it was donated by Buddhists, Muslims or Hindus. They happily accepted the aid. This is the unity in Sri Lanka. Racial discrimination was washed away with the floods. So what I would like to ask is, does this country need a flood to unite? Unity is vanishing because of internal politics.
The Sri Lanka Freedom Party convened a media briefing today.
Some countries say that if a state of emergency is declared, more aid can be obtained. The President did not agree to that because this would affect the mindset of the people. Therefore, we did not seek aid under a state of emergency. We requested aid based on our needs. Usually, we request for many things including soap. This time we requested what we will need for the future.
Countries like the US use various systems when delivering aid following a natural disaster. It has a certain quota to be delivered if it is not an emergency situation. A state of emergency is declared, the affected areas would see a huge inflow of aid. We are not doing that because issues would arise and there are some who interpret the matter in a wrong way.
We have signed the document and handed it over.
I personally made the donation before the decision. Everyone has made their contribution. It is a good thing. There is one problem that all political parties in the country face. The leadership has not created the next layer. There needs to be a process of such sorts. It is a good thing if Mahinda Amaravira is moulded into a leadership position.
Motorsports rider Ananda Wedisinghe, who passed away earlier this week, was laid to rest today.
He was buried at the Kurunagala Public Cemetery. A large number of motorsport drivers and riders were in attendance at the funeral.
And finally, often public funds go to waste as the respective project falls short of the required standard. The following report is of a bridge construction that most definitely falls short at both ends.
This bridge has been constructed across the waste weir of the Kidima tank in Varapitia. According to the village, the bridge does not reach both banks of the tank. Therefore, each time the tank overflows, the sand on either side of the banks get washed away. The contractor has resorted to filling the two gaps with mounds of earth as a temporary solution.
Well, that's it from all of us here at the English News Desk. Thank you very much for joining us. I'm Mahina Bongzel.
And I am Shamir Rasuldin. Join us again tomorrow, same time, same place. Till then, take care and good night.